2021 MLB season. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do in today's video. But before I get into this video, 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. Get your life together. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, leave a like. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like. And let's go ahead and get into this video talking about some breakout players for 2021. The first player on this list is going to be Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves. Austin Riley, we've seen flashes of him being a really, really good player in Major League Baseball. But we've also seen some very disappointing. It's been disappointing for Riley at times. In 2019, he came up and had an absolute monster season, 18 home runs, 49 RBIs, and a 226 batting average. His batting average is low, and he needs to get that batting average up. That year, he also destroyed AAA, where he had 15 home runs, 41 RBIs, and a 293 batting average. That's the batting average that I think you look for here for Austin Riley in 2028 home runs, 27 RBIs, and a 239 batting average. I don't think his 60-game season was very good at all for him, considering that I think he really needs to get his rhythm. And yeah, he strikes out a lot too. Like he's striking out 36.4% of the time, which is not good. So yeah. Fangraphs, I mean, their projections for 2021, 25 home runs-ish. Yeah, I mean, 25 home runs. Now, just because these are breakout players, that does not mean that I think that this player has to break out for that team to be great. Because I don't think that that's the idea with the Atlanta Braves here. I just don't think that that's true because the Braves are already a very, very good team. I mean, for the power, it's good. His hit is kind of something that you need to work on. His speed's not great either. I think he's a decent third baseman, but I don't think he's any great fielding third baseman either. So, yeah, coming in next is Spencer Howard of the Philadelphia Phillies. Spencer Howard definitely has to be a breakout candidate here. Spencer Howard in 2020, 1-2. 8.51 ERA, small sample size. I wouldn't take that too much into account. He has had some injury past, especially in 2019. And I'm not expecting I was looking at the wrong thing. 5.92 ERA in 2020. In 2019, 1-0 with a 2.35 ERA in Double-A, which I think is reading for the Phillies. So he's a very good pitcher. I think he really needs to break out. It was between him and Zach Eflin for me because I think both of them need to break out. I think that Alex Bohm is the most realistic candidate to break out here. But I think if we're going off what – I think that it's Spencer Howard. I do. Spencer Howard, I would expect a pretty big season from him, and I think the Phillies will be in a lot different of a position if Spencer Howard is not a breakout candidate. Next, I'm going to go with Sixto Sanchez of the Miami Marlins. This is a player that I think is going to be really good. He was my runner-up for NL Rookie of the Year. And the reason I didn't give him Rookie of the Year is simply because of the reason that I do not agree with pitchers getting the NL Rookie of the Year. I just don't think that should happen. If it was different, then maybe he would. But I don't know. Yeah. Sixto Sanchez was a part of the JT Realmuto trade and the main piece that the Marlins got back in this trade. And he looks like he's going to be a future Cy Young pitcher. And I totally agree with that idea that he's going to be a Cy Young pitcher. 2019 in Double-A, 8-4 with a 2.53 ERA. But you're taking into account 2020, 3-2 with a 3.46 ERA. I think he's going to be really, really good in 2021. And I think he's going to be a big part of where the Marlins do end up going in 2021. Next on this list is Victor Robles of the Washington Nationals in 2023. Home runs, 15 RBIs, and a 220 batting average. In 2019, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs, and a 255 batting average. Now, with Victor Robles, he's got a very good glove, and I think he could even sneak in to maybe a top 10 center fielder for many people if he could use that bat better, because I think that he is a comparable player to a player like a Jackie Bradley Jr. And the reason I say that is because he's very good with the glove in the field and has speed too, and just can never really get it going with the bat. And that kind of seems like Victor Robles here. The projections don't look really great for him, kind of looking towards that 2019 season with Washington again. But I think that Victor Robles, especially you're losing Adam Eaton, he's another outfielder lost there. So I think it's about time that Victor Robles breaks out. He was one of the top prospects in baseball for a long time. I think it's time that he finally breaks out. Marcus Stroman of the New York Mets. Marcus Stroman's in a contract year here. He accepted the qualifying offer from the New York Mets this offseason, 1 year, $18.9 million, which is a big contract for Marcus Stroman. But I think Marcus Stroman is in a right position to break out after this will be his really first full season with the New York Mets, because in 2020 he opted out, and then he was traded from Toronto to New York at the 2019 MLB trade deadline. So this will be his first full year with the Mets, and that I think will be big for him in 2019. 10-13 with 3.22 ERA. Like I said, in 2020 he did opt out. So yeah, I still expect a good season for Marcus Stroman. I don't think that he's going to be in that Cy Young contention like many people might expect from what I would consider a breakout player. But I think as in a breakout player, I think he's going to be really, really good, and I think he's going to be a big part of where this team goes without having Noah Syndergaard for the first couple months of the season. And I think he's going to be a real big part of their team in 2021. Next is moving on to the NL Central. I'm going to go with T.J. Antone of the Cincinnati Reds. He might be one of the more sneaky players on this list, because Antone in 2020 was a player that was just pretty much maybe getting a start here and there, the number 5 starter. He does have a groin injury right now, so yeah. So for T.J. Antone in 2020, he had an 0-3 record with a 2.80 ERA. I don't think that's much to take into account there. I would take more into account his 2019 season. 4-8 with a 4.65 ERA. That is in AAA with the Louisville Bats for the Cincinnati Reds. So T.J. Antone has to be a breakout candidate here for the Reds. I really think that he is going to be a breakout candidate, especially losing Trevor Bauer in that rotation. They still have a very good rotation, but if T.J. Antone could break out and possibly be that number 3 starter behind Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, then I think that this team is much better in 2021 and could possibly even push them to a playoff spot. That's how big of an impact I think T.J. Antone can make to this team. T.J. Antone is my breakout candidate for the Cincinnati Reds. Next is Alec Mills of the Chicago Cubs. Alec Mills threw a no-hitter in 2020, but did not have a good 2020. 5-5 with a 4.48 ERA. Now, Alex Mills has never been a very good pitcher at all. He did have some outings from the bullpen, 1-0 with a 2.75 ERA in 2019, which he did have a pretty good season there. But, I mean, in 2018, 5-12 with a 4.84 ERA. Alex Mills, I think, is a player that could definitely break out. He had the no-hitter, like I said. And I think even if he could eat up innings for the Cubs, he would be a really serviceable starter for this team. And I mean, I think that Alex Mills is their breakout candidate. Next is, I hate to put a rookie-type player under this pressure, but I'm going to go with Kebryan Hayes of the Pittsburgh Pirates, for the simple reason that I cannot find anyone else on the Pittsburgh Pirates that I would consider a breakout candidate. Even though it's not that I don't think that Kebryan Hayes is going to be a breakout candidate, because I think that that's far from true. I think that Kebryan Hayes is going to have a great season. 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a 376 batting average. I think that he is a player that is going to I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think he's going to get I think he's going to be an all-star. And I think that's just showing how bad that the Pirates are and how good that Kebryan Hayes is. In 2020, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a 376 batting average. In 2019, in AAA, 10 home runs, 64 RBIs, and a 265 batting average. He might have had some injuries that year, because that doesn't seem like a full season worth of stats there. Yeah. So, Kebryan Hayes is my breakout candidate for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Next is Harrison Bader of the St. Louis Cardinals. It is about time this guy breaks out, because he has disappointed everyone, coming in as a top prospect into Major League Baseball, and he has not really performed at what we were expecting for him. I expected a ton better from Harrison Bader, and he's really just been a defensive liability in center field, I think. And that's he just can't hit. Like, he cannot hit at all. So, yeah, I think that he's definitely a breakout candidate for this Cardinals team. So, Harrison Bader in 2020 had a 226 batting average, 4 home runs, and 11 RBIs. 2019, 12 home runs, 39 RBIs, and a 205 batting average. That is a not good season. I mean, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it around. That's not a good season for Harrison Bader, who is regarded as one of the top prospects in baseball. That is not a good season for Harrison Bader. Next is Jackie Bradley Jr., new signed Milwaukee Brewer. In 2020, he had 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, and a 283 batting average. In 2019, 225 batting average with 21 home runs and a 62 RBIs. So we started to see where he was actually hitting because we know how good he is with the glove in the field. We just need him to hit, and I think that this is his season to break out in Milwaukee. I think that it's good for him to go to Milwaukee, and I think it would be good for his. I think it's good for his career, and I think that he will do well in Milwaukee. I think he is definitely a sneaky candidate that could definitely break out. Next is Tommy Lisella of the San Francisco Giants. Tommy Lisella in 2019 had a very good season, 16 home runs, 44 RBIs, and a 295 batting average. When the projections for him were sky low, they were very low, is what I meant. 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, and a 281 batting average in 2020. A solid season from Tommy Lisella. He's more of a utility player, but he went to San Francisco, which is a place more to where he is going to be more of a player that they're relying on to hit pretty well in that lineup for this San Francisco Giants team. And I think he's going to make a big impact on whether they actually do contend for that second wild card or not. Because if they don't, I think that Lisella might be a big reason why, just determining his season. And they're starting pitching and relief pitching. Next player is going to be Gavin Lux of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think Gavin Lux is the obvious choice here. Because in 2020, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, and a 175 batting average, which made him actually get demoted to minor league camp. In 2019, small sample size, once again, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and a 240 batting average. In 2019, in AAA, 13 home runs, 39 RBIs, and 392 batting average. He was absolutely tearing up AAA. But, then again, I just don't know what you can expect from Gavin Lux. And he is the player that could really put this Dodgers team over the top. If they're not already World Series favorites, Gavin Lux playing at a even decent level would make this team a ton better because second base might be their weakest position hitting-wise. Trent Grisham of the San Diego Padres is my next player on this list. The Brewers actually traded him to the Padres. 3 home runs and 10 home runs, 26 RBIs, and a 251 batting average in 2020. That's a very solid season for Trent Grisham, and we really haven't saw that before with him. 6 home runs, 24 RBIs, and a 231 batting average in 2019. Like I said, we haven't saw that from him, but he's one of the top center fielders in baseball. Obviously, he's not as good as Mike Trout, but he's top 5 in baseball maybe in some people's eyes. And yeah, Trent Grisham's really underrated, and I think he might even break out even more in 2021. Next player is Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's actually been with 3 organizations in his short MLB career in only one full season of pitching. And he's been with the Cardinals, the Marlins, and the Diamondbacks. And I think that the Cardinals and Marlins could definitely still use him. For Miami, you would have Sandy Alcantara, Sixto Sanchez, and Zach Gallen. And for St. Louis, you would have a top rotation of Zach Gallen and Zach Flaherty, which would be an absolute crazy good 1 and 2. 3 and 2 with a 2.75 ERA in 2020 for Zach Gallen. And in 2019, 3 and 6 with a 2.81 ERA. Zach Gallen's going to be a great pitcher, and I think he's a sneaky candidate to win Cy Young this year. Yeah, I said it, Cy Young. Next is Kyle Freeland of the Colorado Rockies, the last player in the NL or last NL team on this list today. But Kyle Freeland's a breakout candidate after a good 2018 season. He did not, or it was 2018 or 2019 one. I don't know what happened to him after 2018. 2018, 17-7 with a 2.85 ERA. And I think that if you put him in a different ballpark, he would be a really good pitcher. 2019, he absolutely fell off a cliff, 3-11 with a 6.73 ERA. If I'm a Rockies fan, I'm absolutely disgusted with the 2019 season because that is just a bad season. I don't care if you're pitching in Coors Field or you're pitching in the most pitcher-friendly ballpark, let's just say Oracle Park in San Francisco. I don't care. That is a bad season. After a near Cy Young season, I don't know if he was using the foreign substance or not, but it seems like he was. 2020, 2-3 with a 4.33 ERA. Another just bad season from Kyle Freeland. I don't really know what to expect from him in 2021, but I think that he might be a trade deadline acquisition for a team, and he's going to be a free agent in 2021, which maybe will make, or I think he's arbitration eligible after this season, which I don't even know like what the arbitration eligible stuff means. I don't even know. All right, next, let's move to the AL teams. And for the Orioles, their breakout candidate, in my opinion, is Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle in 2020, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs, and a .333 batting average. But he was very good. In 2019 in AAA, 25 home runs, 83 RBIs, and a .312 batting average. I think you should definitely watch out for Ryan Mountcastle to be a very good player for this Orioles team. I don't think that they're trading him. I think he's more a part of their future. And you start to build a lot better of a future with Mountcastle, D.L. Hall, Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez once they come up. And you've also got Trey Mancini there, who could be moved at the trade deadline as well. Next is Nathanvaldi of the Boston Red Sox. In 2020, 4-2 with a 3.72 ERA. In 2019, terrible. 2-1 with a 5.99 ERA. But he is a sneaky player. He was throwing over 100 miles per hour in spring training, and it was 10 times. It wasn't like a one-time fluke. And I kind of knew it at the time of this trade that this would be a pretty big move for the Red Sox, whether it was that season or in the future. And this trade happened in 2018 when he finished with a 6-7 record with a 3.81 ERA in 2018. Nathanvaldi is a sneaky player that I think is going to make a big part of whether the Red Sox can compete in that tough AL East or not. Next is Rafael Dalas of the Toronto Blue Jays, a player out of their bullpen that had not pitched in Major League Baseball for 7 years, from what Fangraphs is telling me. 1.50 ERA and 2-2 in 2020. That's a fabulous season from Rafael Dalas, and especially when you add Kirby Yates to that bullpen, and you still got some other arms in that bullpen that could be very solid. You're starting to build a good bullpen in Toronto, and maybe a sneaky good bullpen in Toronto that could be very, very good. Next is Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. We know about Randy Arozarena's 2020 postseason. Absolutely crazy postseason. Made history in the 2020 postseason. Randy Arozarena is really, really good. He's my pick to win AL Rookie of the Year, and I think that he's going to have a big season for the Rays. Next breakout player, I think definitely has to be one of the Yankees, Jameson Taillon or Corey Kluber. One of those players that they picked up this offseason. Jameson Taillon, we've never really seen him have a great season before. I think his best season technically was like a barely below 4 ERA season, which is not a very good season from Jameson Taillon. So Jameson Taillon, I think one of those players could definitely be a difference maker for this Yankees team, and I think that their relief pitching is going to have to be very good if they want, or their starting pitching is going to have to be at least decent. And I think they're going to have to, one of those players, Corey Kluber or Jameson Taillon, is going to have to be at least decent for them to really compete for the World Series in 2021. Next, moving on to the Detroit Tigers and the AL Central. I'm going to go with Matthew Boyd of the Detroit Tigers. This guy is a player that I feel like he's bound to break out. Like he was about to be traded at the 2019 MLB trade deadline, didn't get traded. I think it's time he breaks out for the Tigers, especially that he breaks out for the Tigers. I mean, I think Matthew Boyd is one of the more confusing starting pitchers in baseball because, like in 2019, it was a pretty solid season, 9-12 with a 4.56 ERA. But you've got to look at the run support he had there for his win and loss record. But nobody cares about the win and loss record. It's more of the ERA that they care about. And baseball's starting to get into the advanced stats now. In 2018, 9-13 with a 4.39 ERA. But in 2020, it was very concerning. 3-7 with a 6.71 ERA. And I just don't know what to make of Matthew Boyd because I think that he is a pitcher that could break out. And I think that the Tigers are really going to try to build his trade value up. And I think that Michael Fulmer is another player that you should watch out for on this Tigers team because he won AL Rookie of the Year, I'm pretty sure, just a couple years ago. And Michael Fulmer is a player that looked to be a really promising player for the Detroit Tigers' future, and I think they could build both of those players' trade value up and get some very valuable assets for those players at the trade deadline. Next player is Andrew Benintendi of the Kansas City Royals, who was traded in an offseason trade from the Red Sox to the Royals, in a trade that involved Andrew Benintendi, obviously, Franchi Cordero, and some other prospects. In 2019, you started to see maybe that he could be an all-star soon. 13 home runs, 68 RBIs, and a 266 batting average. But in 2020, he fell off a cliff. 0 home runs, 1 RBI, and a 183 batting average. That was an absolute terrible season for Andrew Benintendi. But I think that he could return to that all-star form, especially in Kansas City. I think that he could definitely return to that all-star form. 16 home runs, 87 RBIs, and a 290 batting average in 2018. And I'm saying 2018 is just for the simple reason that we didn't just see that season one year and it's a fluke. We've seen it before, and I think you could expect a pretty good season from Andrew Benintendi, the newly acquired Royal. Another player that is newly acquired is Andres Gimenez of the Cleveland baseball team. I think he's going to be key to what the Cleveland baseball team is able to do in 2021. Because I think if he's not very good, then I think that will not be good for the Cleveland baseball team. You're not expecting a lot of power from Andres Gimenez. In 2023, home runs, 12 RBIs, and a 263 batting average. He is more of a player that doesn't have a ton of power. He's more like a Nick Madrigal type of player. They play the same position, and he's not going to hit a lot of home runs, but he's going to be very effective. He has good glove in the field too. So I think that losing the bat of Francisco Lindor will hurt this Cleveland baseball team. But I think Andres Gimenez, Ahmed Rosario, the players that they got back in that trade, is going to really determine their 2021 season. Next player is a player that nobody really is talking about, that the Twins actually added this offseason. That's Hansel Robles. Hansel Robles had a very good 2019 season with the Los Angeles Angels. That, I mean, if he could repeat that, then yeah. So he's reaching 96 with his fastball, but he did give up like 3 runs, 2 earned, and 4 hits in 1 inning in a spring training loss to Tampa Bay a few days ago. So that's a bit concerning. But we saw Hansel Robles be very good in 2015 and 2016, at a below 4 ERA with the New York Mets. In 2017, 7-5 with a 4.92 ERA. That's where his ERA continued to go up. In 2019, 5-1 with a 2.48 ERA. By far the best season of his career. But in 2020, he just fell off a cliff. 0-2 with a 10.26 ERA is absolutely crazy for a player that just had a below 250 ERA. That is absolutely crazy to me that he just fell off a cliff that bad. Hansel Robles did. And I think Hansel Robles is a player that in that bullpen will make a big difference for the Twins. And I think that if he can perform at a decent level, I think if he could have a 3 ERA, the Twins would be very, very happy with signing him, because they signed him for, I'm pretty sure, a less than $1 million deal in 2020 or for 2021. So I think that they would be happy as could be if they could get Hansel Robles at that type of form, along with Alex Colomé, Taylor Rogers in that bullpen. You're starting to build a pretty good bullpen, even though you did lose Trevor May. Next breakout player is Luis Robert. He didn't win Rookie of the Year in 2020. I'm sure he's probably not too happy about that. Kyle Lewis got it in 2020. But this guy destroyed minor league baseball. 16 home runs, 39 RBIs, and a 297 batting average in 2019 with the Charlotte Knights in 2020. In Major League Baseball, 11 home runs, 31 RBIs, and a 233 batting average. He's going to have to get that batting average up, but I'm expecting an all-star caliber season from Luis Robert, and I think he's going to lead the White Sox to a very good season. Moving on to the AL West. So, for the Angels, I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani of the Los Angeles Angels. 7 home runs, 24 RBIs, and a 190 batting average in 2020. I would not take into account 2020. He was injured. I just wouldn't take into account 2020 at all. 18 home runs, 62 RBIs, and a 286 batting average in 2019. That's what more I would take into account. And in 2018, 22 home runs, 61 RBIs, and 285 batting average. He's going to hit in that 280 range. and is going to hit quite a few home runs. And once again, he can pitch, and he can pitch very well too. And I more think that they should focus more on the hitting aspect for Ohtani, because I think he's already going to be very good hitting. But I think they don't need to rush him back from Tommy John surgery, pitching as big of an injury as that is. I think that Shohei Ohtani is a very good player. I just don't think they need to rush him back. But he is a MVP candidate. He was a player that I wanted to put as the MVP for 2021. Next player is Justin Dunn of the Seattle Mariners. Justin Dunn in 2020, 4-1 with a 4.34 ERA. He was traded in the Jarred Kelenic, Justin Dunn for Robinson Cano. I know that brings nightmares back to New York Mets fans. But in 2020, 4-1 with a 4.34 ERA. I think he's really going to break out then in 2021. The projections 5 ERA. So from what the projections look like, I'm definitely going on a limb picking Justin Dunn for the Seattle Mariners, but I think so. Next player is Kyle Tucker of the Houston Astros in 2020. 9 home runs, 42 RBIs, and a 268 batting average in 2019. 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a 269 batting average. And I was thinking more after that 2019 season, this guy's starting to be a bust, and I think he's just going to be an average player. But boy, did he prove me wrong in 2020. And I think that he is another player that the Astros have developed well, going to be under control for the near future. Is not a free agent till 2026, arbitration eligible in 2023. So if they are not able to re-sign Correa, and they'll still have Altuve, Tucker on that team, so they'll still be a decent team without Correa. Next player on this list is going to be Sam Huff of the Texas Rangers. Now, ever since he was in the minor leagues, I was like, he's going to fly up the prospect rankings, and boy, was I right. This was one of the players that I was right about here, and I mean, he's the number 2 prospect for the Rangers right now. He hits for a ton of power. Obviously, he's not a great runner because he's a catcher. But yeah, he has a ton of power, and he's a pretty. I think he's more of a DH though. I think that's the thing with Sam Huff. I think he's more of a DH type player. And, yeah, I think Chris Davis could be a great mentor for him, the newly acquired Texas Ranger in 2020. 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, and a 355 batting average. Small sample size, but he only played like 7 games. That's actually pretty good. 2019 in a advanced. 13 home runs, 43 RBIs, and a 262 batting average with the Down East Wood Ducks, the single-A advanced affiliate, or used to be single-A advanced affiliate of the Texas Rangers. Jesus Luzardo of the Oakland Athletics is my final player on this list. 3-2 with a 4.12 ERA. I'm really expecting a big season from him, especially if I am predicting the A's to finish in second place in their division. Then I definitely expect a very good season from Jesus Luzardo and A.J. Puck and those type of players, and even Trevor Rosenthal. I considered putting all 3 of those players on this list, but I went with Jesus Luzardo because I personally think that he's the best player out of all 3 of those. And I think that he will be very, very good in 2021. Let's go quickly back through the list now. For the Braves, I've got Austin Riley. For the Phillies, I've got Spencer Howard. For the Marlins, I've got Sixto Sanchez. Victor Robles for the Nationals. Marcus Stroman for the Mets. T.J. Antone for the Reds. Alex Mills for the Cubs. Kebryan Hayes for the Pirates. Harrison Bader for the Cardinals. Jackie Bradley for the Brewers. Tommy Lisella for the Giants. Gavin Lux for the Dodgers. Trent Grisham for the Padres. Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks. Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. Mountcastle for the Orioles. Nathanvaldi for the Red Sox. Rafael Dalas of the Blue Jays. Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. Jameson Tyne of the New York Yankees. Matt Boyd, Detroit Tigers. For the Royals, I've got Andrew Benintendi. For the Cleveland baseball team, I've got Andres Jimenez. For the Twins, I've got Hansel Robles. For the White Sox, I've got Luis Robert. For the Angels, I've got Shohei Ohtani. Mariners, Justin Dunn. Kyle Tucker for the Astros. Sam Huff for the Rangers. And Jesus Luzardo for the A's. So, yeah, that's my list of one breakout player from every MLB team for the 2020. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications. Because 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. Get your life together. Hit that subscribe button, turn notifications, and leave a like. Thank you for watching.